also like to announce the arrival of the Honorable Tan Sri Datuk Seri Panglima Joseph Kura, Minister, Prime Minister's Department, representing the Right Honorable Dato Sri Mohammed Najib bin Tun Abdul Razak. Please welcome and appreciate our panelists and special dignitaries this morning as we begin this opening plenary. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. We welcome you this morning as we begin our opening plenary session for the Global Peace Convention 2013 here in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. My name is James Flynn. I'm the International President of the Global Peace Foundation, and we're very, very happy to be here with you as we discuss these important issues. We appreciate greatly our co-host and partner, what's in Bahasa, JPNIN, the Department of National Unity and Integration of the Prime Minister's Department. So again, let's also appreciate our co-host, JPNIN. If you could please give applause for our co-host. Last night, we celebrated a very beautiful welcoming banquet here. I'm sure for all of us who came internationally, we were inspired and lifted by the graciousness and beauty of our welcoming banquet. Did you feel that as well? All right, let's appreciate our hosts for the beautiful welcome last night. This morning, we begin the important discussions and proceedings of this convention. The Global Peace Convention 2013 addresses a very significant, timely, and relevant theme: unity in diversity, building social cohesion for sustainable peace through universal aspirations, principles, and values. We are here together from 40 different nations, people of different ethnicities, people of different religious backgrounds, people of different racial background. And we're all here together because we are part of one human family in a world that has come so close together in this era of globalization. We all benefit from the great developments of science and technology, which allow us to join together here, to meet easily as we have traveled from around the world, to discuss and communicate with our colleagues and friends and family around the world. In this era of globalization, we also faced with new challenges, more pronounced difficulties, as we in our differences come together and learn and must learn how we can respect each other, treat each other with dignity, and even more so, to connect on a more fundamental level. In this convention, therefore, we are addressing a most relevant and important theme for our time. I would dare say the most important issue for our time. How is it that we, in the diversity, in the wide range of difference that we see in our human family, how is it that we are to come together? How is it that we can find the essence of our common humanity? And on that basis, create the bond of relationship and heart, which will allow us then to solve problems, to work together to build a world of well-being and prosperity for all members of the human family. And so we welcome you to this opening plenary. We are very excited to have you with us to discuss these important issues. As we begin, let me first recognize the important leaders with us here this morning. Every single one of our delegates here is is an important person, and we honor you for your contributions and leadership here and around the world. Let me give a special remark to our key dignitaries. So first of all, this morning, let me appreciate and let us recognize the Honorable Tan Sri Datuk Seri Panglima Joseph Kurup, Minister, Prime Minister's Department, representing the Right Honorable Dato Sri Muhammad Najib bin Tun Abdul Razak. Tan Sri Joseph Kurup serves as our co-chair of this convention. Let me also ask your recognition of our other co-chair. You heard her last night in her passionate speech, the Honorable Tan Sri Zaleha bint Ismail. We will hear greetings and special remarks from them shortly. Let me also recognize our distinguished panelists here with us this morning. I will introduce them appropriately at the time of their speaking. Let us begin, though, by recognizing His Excellency Marco Vinicio Cerezo, former President of the Republic of Guatemala. We also recognize Her Excellency Hajia Dr. Amina Namadi Sambo, wife of the Vice President of Nigeria. Dr. Hyun Jin Moon, founder and chairman of the Global Peace Foundation. And Dr. Manu Chandaria, chairman and chief executive officer, Comcaf Group of Kenya. Again, as we appreciate and recognize our dignitaries this morning, I would like to also recognize a few others. First of all, let us recognize the chairwoman of the Global Peace Women and wife of our founder and chairman, Dr. Moon, Dr. Junsuk Moon. I'd like to also recognize, coming from a very, very far distance, from the nation of Paraguay, the Senate President of the Chamber of Senators, Republic of Paraguay, the Honorable Lilian Sanmaniego. From neighboring Philippines, Congresswoman Honorable Maria Georgina de Venecia from the Congress of the Republic of the Philippines. Welcome, Congresswoman de Venecia. I'd like to also recognize here in Malaysia the chairman of the Global Movement of Moderates Foundation of Malaysia, the Honorable Tan Sri Razali Ismail. Let me also recognize here in Malaysia, representing the nation of Nigeria, the Ambassador of Nigeria to Malaysia, His Excellency Ambassador Bello Shehu Ringam. Let's recognize Ambassador Ringam. Finally, from neighboring Indonesia, the Secretary General of Nahdlatul Ulama in the Republic of Indonesia, Dr. Marsudi Sayud. Ladies and gentlemen, we have dignitaries here from around the world. Allow me to stand on earlier protocols from last night as we continue our program. The first on our agenda is to hear some greetings and special remarks from our co-chairs. And so if you would allow me to invite up and welcome to the stage for special greetings, our co-chairman of the Global Peace Festival Malaysia Foundation and our co-chair of this convention, the Honorable Tan Sri Datuk Paduka Zaleha bint Ismail. Please welcome Tan Sri Zaleha.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat datang ke Malaysia. Welcome to Malaysia. Salam global peace. Honorable Mr. James Flynn, International President of Global Peace Foundation, and my beloved grandson, Dr. Hyun Jin Moon, founder and chairman of Global Peace Foundation International. He adopted me as his grandmother and declared that he has extended family in Malaysia. We are all family members. We are members of one family under God. Last night, I welcomed majority of you to this convention, the Global Peace Convention 2013 here in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And today I know some new arrivals of delegates from international and our member countries of global peace throughout the world. And I welcome you again on behalf of the Global Peace Convention Committee and also on behalf of our country, Malaysia. We, the people of Malaysia, love to have you here because you bring all the spirit of peace here to Malaysia. And for the next few days, we are going to discuss unity in diversity. And that is the very essence of our life, our harmonious life of the Malaysian people who are multiracial, multicultural, multi-religious, multilingual, and yet we have lived harmoniously together. Let's look at this very important issue of peace, unity in diversity, and let's spread it to the whole world. And under the chairmanship of Dr. Hyun Jin Moon, we will spread peace throughout the world. Agreed? Thank you. Our lovely lady, Dr. Hyun Jin Moon, Jun Suk Moon, and Chairman of Global Peace Women International, Honorable Tan Sri, Datuk Sri Panglima Joseph Kurup, Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Co-Chair of Global Peace Convention 2013, and I must say that I really appreciate Tan Sri's efforts and also the efforts of the Jabatan Perpaduan Negara Integrasi Nasional, the National Unity and Integration Department, and until the government of Malaysia agreed to co-sponsor this convention here in Malaysia this year. It is just unfortunate that our beloved Prime Minister is not able to be with here today because he is now attending or officiating a very important General Assembly of our party, the United Malay Nationals Organization, also having its General Assembly the same dates and time as the Global Peace Convention we are having here today and a few days after. And I am happy also that Tan Sri Joseph Kurup will be representing the Prime Minister and address all of us here this morning. I would like also to appreciate the presence of Her Excellency Haja Amina Sambo, wife of the Deputy President of Nigeria, who I appreciate her presence very much, and being a lady and bringing a big delegation from her country and representing her country. Thank you for coming. Also, I would like to appreciate His Excellency Marco Vinicio Sorezo, who is here with us, and I do hope that all of you who are here will stay a few more days in Malaysia and savor the food, all the variety of food of the Malaysians, and also all the beautiful beaches, the mountains, and everything that we have here in Malaysia. I offer you to climb the highest mountain in Malaysia, the Mount Kinabalu in Sabah. I think some of you are going to Sabah. Can I challenge you to climb the mountain? In 2003, I brought up to the mountain. I didn't go up. The students, the problem students that we nurtured for a number of years and took them up on the 31st of August, 2003, on our Independence Day at 6:30 a.m., they flew 1,000 meters of the Malaysian flag right at the top of the Mount Kinabalu. That was a real feat for them because they were problem youth and they achieved something great. And I am very happy that I have been able to help them to achieve great feat like that. And I am sure when we culminate all our efforts and spiritual fervor, we can reach the whole world. Thank you very much for being here, and please stay on a few more days. Thank you.
We are grateful to Tan Sri Zaleha Ismail not only for her inspirational words, as she is a powerful speaker, don't you agree? But also for her great leadership here in Malaysia, in this region, and around the world. Let's appreciate again Tan Sri Zaleha Ismail. Before we begin our panel and offering one more and a very important special remarks, let me invite to the stage the Honorable Tan Sri Datuk Seri Panglima Joseph Kurup, Minister, Prime Minister's Department, representing the Right Honorable Dato Sri Mohammed Najib bin Tun Abdul Razak. Please welcome Tan Sri Joseph Kurup.
Dr. Preston Hyun Jin Moon, founder and chairman of Global Peace Foundation, Dr. Jun Suk Moon, the chairwoman of Global Peace Women, Tan Sri Datin Paduka Sri Haja Jaliha binti Ismail, chairperson of the Global Peace Foundation here in Malaysia, Her Excellency Hajia Amina Nomadi Sambo, the Grand Patron the Global Peace Foundation, Mr. James Flynn, President of Global Peace Foundation International, Datu Azman Amin bin Hassan, the Director General of National Unity and Integration, Tan Sri Razali Ismail, the Chairman of the Global Movement for Moderates in Malaysia, Dr. Chandra, His Excellency Marcio Valencio, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, it is quite our tradition, the Malaysian tradition, to greet our overseas guests by saying, Selamat datang ke Malaysia, or welcome to Malaysia, a very good morning to all and each of you here today. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you greetings and a message of goodwill from the Right Honorable Prime Minister of Malaysia, who would have loved to be with us here today, but due to other commitments, requested that I represent him, and I was more than glad to oblige. It is a pleasure for me to stand among such prominent peacemakers from around the world whom have done vast contributions towards peace building. I am also proud to welcome each and every one of the delegates for taking the time to attend such a significant international peace gathering. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Malaysia is a blessed nation. Mosques, temples, churches, and gurdwaras are symbols of our triumph as a nation of many faiths. It is a norm to see temple, mosque, and church situated near to each other within our community. Diverse religions and races have flourished together for centuries on this land, and we have enriched each other. We Malaysians have created a unique society, a society benefiting from the sharing of our many cultures, traditions, and backgrounds. Our beloved Prime Minister, Datuk Sri Najib Tun Abdul Razak, in one of his recent speech, said, diversity is a big part of Malaysia's DNA. In many ways, it defines us. Although we are different, we must not be divided. The Prime Minister strongly believes Malaysians of all ethnicities and religions should be bound together by respect and celebration of our differences. We might ask, what is it that really binds us together? I think, ladies and gentlemen, the answer can be found in a speech made in the early days of our nation formation as a poignant reminder from a much-beloved founding father of this nation, the first Prime Minister of Malaysia, Tunku Abdul Rahman. He said, and I quote, all people must feel that there is a room for them in our country, and that we can live in peace with one another, provided, of course, that we respect another's right, and provided, too, that we realize we owe duties to one another for good and well-being, the progress and happiness of our country. Mutual respects are one of the important virtues that we cherish profoundly for stable and a progressive Malaysia. Respecting our diversity as a way of life, respecting our diversity as a greatness being Malaysian, and respecting our diversity as a blessing and not as a curse, and enable us in Malaysia to continuously strengthen our unity. Mutual respect have to be fostered and taught. Through the promotion of respect of our diverse society, we would be able to learn from each other, making our different traditions and cultures a source of harmony and strength, and not discord and weakness. Distinguished participants, apart from embracing the value of respect in our daily lives, Malaysians of all religion and ethnicity believe in practice of moderation in maintaining peace, unity, and stability in diversity. At the heart of all religions is a belief for the sanctity of moderation. The values of moderation, such as tolerance and respect, are inherent in all religious faith and creeds. Moderation will overwhelm the minority extremists because over and over again, history has made not by those who espouse extremism, but by those who, without surrendering their beliefs, stay true to the path of moderation. Gandhi used to say, the policy of an eye for an eye would make us all blind. So while our natural inclination leads many of us to believe that we are always right, it wouldn't hurt to listen to different opinions. Ladies and gentlemen, to foster tolerance and respect, dialogue among various groups is crucial. Civilizational dialogues and engagements are important elements to encourage understanding and acceptance towards the pillar or towards the bedrock of moderation. Moderation will lead a society as diverse as we have here in Malaysia towards unity and harmony, because tolerance, respect, understanding are values by the moderates will be the key to maintain peace and unity in any society. Ladies and gentlemen, in a multiracial and multi-religious society like Malaysia, managing unity is a gangatuan task. Although this diversity of ours is a blessing, but it can sometimes be difficult to manage. Decades of relative peace enjoyed by a young nation such as ours made us to have an understandable lackadaisical attitude towards unity, but political realities proved to be much more unpredictable. Being the minister in charge of unity is like to have the sword of Damocles hanging over one's head. The reason being, riots could easily take place if everyone thinks they are victim of discriminatory policies or victimized by the government, or if religious bigotry purportedly done in the name of civil liberties by polarizing politicians and religious zealots, if moderate values are at times brushed aside to score political points. One of the root cause, ladies and gentlemen, one of the root cause of deteriorating unity nowadays are the practicing of racial and religious bigotry, particularly with the expansion of social media with irresponsible net citizens using the power of the internet towards spreading hatred and distrust among people. Nonsensical tirades of racial and religious bigotry have become a political marketing tool. Sadly enough, it seems to be effective in creating animosity. Our government respects freedom of expression. The government respects freedom of expression, but insulting any religion, especially when it is motivated by extremism and bigotry, or a calculated move to create and to inculcate hatred among the various communities, is, as a matter of fact, a sinister threat to freedom of expression itself. We will never erase racial and religious bigotry due to human nature, but what we can do, what we must do if we, people of all faiths, work together, we can suppress the intolerance and bigotry faced by the people of all faiths in any nation, in any society. Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, the rule of law must prevail in every democratic society. Respect for the law and adhering to the dictates of law are definitely prerequisite for social justice and peaceful coexistence in society. We have here in Malaysia the Rukun Negara, our national principles which was established in 1970 as a response from the 1969 racial clashes. The establishment of Rukun Negara was to strengthen unity among Malaysians, to serve as the nexus which will bind us together. The Rukun Negara consists of 5 pillars. First, belief in God. Second, loyalty to king and country. Third, upholding the Constitution. And fourth, rule of law. And lastly, good behavior and morality. Let me narrate 2 of the pillars, and being a lawyer myself. I strongly believe unity cannot be built without upholding the Constitution and the rule of law, the basis for our democracy, which becomes a foundation to build a just community. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to echo the words of our King during the opening of the first Parliament in 1959. His Majesty said that the Constitution of the Federation of Malaya, our Charter of Rights and Liberties, is now finally and completely in operation with the establishment of Parliament in Malaya, or Malaysia today as we know it, and dedicated itself to the principles of parliamentary democracy. I would like to reiterate here that the Constitution belongs to the people. Our Constitution assures the right of every ethnic group to worship in their own religious and to preserve their own languages and culture. The cornerstone of the creation of a just society lies in the meeting the demands of the people. To avoid trust deficit between the people and the government, they need to know that the government respects their rights, respect their cultural identity, and the government has the political will to empower communities they belong to. Empowerment of the people ultimately provides the needed legitimacy to build an equitable community. Ladies and gentlemen, celebrating our 50 years of nationhood this year, I am proud to say that the general election, which must be called every 5 years as required by our Constitution, have been held since the formation of Malaysia, which clearly proves the success of the ruling government in advancing the cause of parliamentary democracy in Malaysia. Free and fair election and respect of the people's will inevitably determines the people as political masters of the government, which was correctly pointed out by Thomas Jefferson that when the people fear the government, there is tyranny. When the government fears the people, there is liberty. Malaysia, with a development-oriented executive, a dynamic parliament, and an independent judiciary, has and will continue to firmly endorse the right of every ethnic to safeguard their inalienable rights to practice and preserve their own culture, language, and religion as guaranteed by our Constitution. Ladies and gentlemen, the phrase, it's the economy stupid, used during Bill Clinton's successful 1992 presidential campaign, will remind us that unity cannot exist without economic growth. But at the same time, to be a progressive and developed country, one of our first needs must be national unity, a crucial component as well as key facilitator in the nation's development. Economic growth and unity are both sides of the same coin. One cannot coexist without the other. In short, as long as the people have the ringgit, dollars in their pockets, the government efforts for unity have a higher probability of success. Ladies and gentlemen, peace and harmony cannot achieve without a sense of togetherness and oneness. This only can be achieved if there is equitable participation by everybody in the nation's economy. Marginalization or alienation of certain communities, especially the minority groups, will do little good to unite Malaysia. After our embarrassing racial riot in 1969, the government was determined to re-engineer our economy. We committed to our resources to eradicate poverty and correcting the economic imbalance among the main racial groups so that each could enjoy a more equitable share of the economic growth. The government then, under the current Prime Minister's father, launched the new economic policy, NEP, in 1971 with achieving national unity as its sole goal. The objective of this policy was to facilitate national unity through eradication of poverty and restructuring of society. This model of development adopted by Malaysia was based on a philosophy of growth with equity, or more especially, growth with equitable distribution. After almost 45 years after the economic policy implementation, Incidence of poverty in Malaysia has dramatically declined. Poverty has dropped from almost 50% of the population in 1971 to 1.7% of the population in 2012. With this achievement, the target set under the Millennium Development Goals, MDGs, on poverty eradication to overall poverty to 2% in 2015 has been achieved 3 years earlier. Apart from eradicating poverty, priorities of our Prime Minister are to increase the coverage of basic infrastructure, especially in the rural areas of East Malaysia, Sabah and Sarawak. The government intends to provide an adequate supply of affordable houses, especially for low-income households, in line with the policy of improving the quality of life. Our beloved Prime Minister, Najib Tun Razak, in 2010, launched the new economic model, a progressive and holistic economic policy that focuses on both economic transformation and government transformation as well. The Prime Minister's new economic model is dedicated to serve the people of this nation, to further strengthen our oneness and togetherness, foundation of a truly inclusive, sustainable, and equitable society. In the pursuit of unity, let us remember it is not zero-sum endeavor. The peace and unity we seek is not something that can be naturally created. It is created in our hearts. It is created in our minds, blossoms in our hearts, and built by our own hands. We cannot sit on our laurels. We need to work harder to maintain and manage our precious national unity, because the dynamics of issues changes frequently. What worked in the past is probably totally irrelevant today. Needs, demands, and obligations maintain a sustainable national unity changes according to time. Unless there is an effective government response and change in societal attitudes, we would fail and destroy the unity we took years to build. We need to build a better country of our grandchildren, with our unity as a bedrock, as a foundation for progress. Ladies and gentlemen, we in this generation have a moral responsibility to preserve our inherited unity for future generations of today, or will be cursed upon our graves if we were too busy playing politics with our own future, which eventually will destroy what took us decades to build while the rest of the world race forward. Ladies and gentlemen, before I end my speech today, my appreciation goes to the various ministries, agencies, non-governmental organizations, partners and cooperation that has made this convention possible and a successful one. I'd like to once again express my heartfelt thanks to all of you. I hope we will continue to work together in promoting solidarity as global peace. Continue, as the co-chairman said just now, continue to enjoy our Malaysian hospitality, and not forgetting to pass the message from my colleagues, the message from our tourism ministry. The year-end sale is going on. So please do visit our shopping malls before you depart. Thank you again. Merry Christmas and a very happy New Year.
Thank you once again to the Honorable Tan Sri Joseph Kuro. From his remarks, you could recognize and understand why we are convening this convention on this theme here in Malaysia. This nation of a rich multi-ethnic and multi-religious background, as we heard from Tan Sri Kurop's remarks, has made effort over decades in an effort to bring unity within that diversity, an effort that is an ongoing charge and responsibility in all of our nations. So there's much that we can learn. He shared about the national principles here, Rukun Negara, and the fact that here the nation is working to bring unity and diversity centered on principles that speak to the essence of our unity within that diversity. Lessons that we can learn and see reflected also elsewhere in the world, in the founding principles in the United States, in Pancasila in Indonesia, in the national motto in the Philippines. And so as we convene here, let us also learn from our host country and appreciate the important opportunity we have. Because again, this charge that we have, this task that we are about, is of monumental importance to the entire human family. Let's again appreciate the special remarks from Honorable Tan Sri Joseph Kuro. We are turning now to our panelists and the substance of this plenary session. Before we do so, let me recognize that among the 40 nations here, we have national delegations from around the world, from Africa, from Nigeria, from Uganda, from Kenya. Let's hear appreciation for Africa. We have delegations from Latin America, from Brazil, from Guatemala, from Paraguay, from the United States of America and in the Americas. From here in Asia, from Northeast Asia, from Mongolia, the Republic of Korea, Japan, to the Philippines, Indonesia, of course here in Malaysia, Cambodia, Nepal, India, all here joining us in this convention. And I believe it's appropriate for us to take a moment as we recognize the breadth and scope of our human family to note on this day the passing of a true peacemaker and legendary figure from the continent of Africa, the Honorable Nelson Mandela. And as we do so, I think we all recognize his storied life and accomplishment as a champion for the people of his nation and of the world. And as we do so, I'd like to ask us to take a moment of silence, and I think in fitting also as we reflect on his passing and his legacy, that we likewise think of our brothers and sisters around the world, remembering that just recently in neighboring Philippines, more than 5,700 of our human family, of our brothers and sisters, lost their lives in the typhoon. And that day by day by day, our human family experiences hardships and difficulties on the one hand, but also as we see in the life of persons like the Honorable Nelson Mandela, that the human spirit allows us to rise above even the most challenging circumstances. Join me, if you would, in a moment of reflection in honor of Nelson Mandela. Thank you very much. We now begin the main speakers for our plenary session. And so it's my honor to introduce our first speaker from our panel. And so let me introduce His Excellency Marco Vinicio Cerezo, a former president of the Republic of Guatemala. President Cerezo is a visionary and leading figure in Central and South America who believes in building greater cooperation between North and South America. He was one of the co-creators and signers to the historic Esquipulas peace agreements in Central America, and now is president of the Esquipulas Foundation located in Guatemala. He also is one of the founders of the Latin American Presidential Mission, working with the Global Peace Foundation to bring together former heads of states and dignitaries in Latin America to focus on good governance and ways in which the nations of Latin America can rise to new levels of development and success. And so please welcome to the stage President Marco Vinicio Cerezo.
Mr. Moon, it's a pleasure to be with you here and share with your leadership around the world. Dear friends, I would like to begin remembering why I'm here and to explain some part of my history, my political history. I belong to a country in a region, Central America, my country, Guatemala, in a region in Central America, where we were fighting 25 years ago to build democracy and institutionalization in our countries. At that time, we were suffering a 36 years war that killed a lot of leaders, a lot of people, because we were living under authoritarian and military regimes that tried to maintain the control of the government through repression. During that time, about 20 years, we were fighting to build democracy. And we suffered a lot. We suffered prosecution, exile. Even myself survived from 4 attempts against my life. And I lost a lot of my partners in the political party killed by the repression from the government. But after 20 years of organizing the people, promoting democracy, the ideas of peace, and the ideas of comprehension, solidarity, and the interest of the people, we finished with the military and authoritarian government, and we began democracy. And after those 20 years, I was elected like the first president, democratic president, after 32 years of authoritarian government in Guatemala. From the beginning, in my first speech, when I took place at the office, I understood that we couldn't have democracy, we couldn't have development, and we couldn't make a stability in our country if we couldn't reach peace. And that's why, from my speech, I invite the other presidents of Central America to sit down and discuss about how we could make our efforts to finish the war in my country and the other countries in Central America, because we were suffering the Cold War and we were the victims of the confrontation between the United States and the Soviet Union and those countries, like happens in many other countries around the world. The presidents were inspired for my proposal, and we signed Esquipulas I and Esquipulas II is the peace agreement that finished the war in our countries, and we begin an era for the first time in our history of democracy, cooperation between the countries, and building institutionality to work in favor of the people without confrontation. We got the peace, we got democracy, but we knew that we had to continue working in that direction to provoke the development and to solve the most important problems of our people, that was opportunities, rights to participate in politics and social organizations, and certainly benefits and opportunities for the people. And we made it. We succeeded in building democracy, finishing the war, doing peace. And I, like in any democratic country, finished my role at the office, and I leave the office. And at that time, I thought, well, what I had to do to continue doing things in favor of the proposal and the goals we were working for before the war. And I realized that even if I did a good job in my office, there were a lot of problems still existing in my country. And then I decided, thinking in the very important mind of Nelson Mandela, who says, if somebody do everything he can in favor of his country and his people, he can die in peace, like he did it. And then I decided to continue working in favor of consolidate democracy, consolidate the process, and to consolidate the peace we had in our countries. But I begin to think how we can do it, how I continue working in this kind of process, how I can find the people who think like me, maybe different political parties, maybe from different ideologies, maybe from different positions or social positions. And then happened something to me, that kind of miracle, kind of decision of God, because I was invited to Paraguay to the first meeting I participate of the Global Peace Foundation. And I listened the speech of Mr. Moon, who were proposing a family, one family under God. And at that time, I understood what I should do in our country, in our region, in our Latin American continent. I should participate with the people who think the same way I am thinking, despite the ideas, the origin, the color, the religion. I should work with the people because I was inspired by the speech of Mr. Moon, who showed me that I was not alone doing the job I wanted to do, that many people around the world, like we are here, were thinking that we could work together to cooperate, to create unity around the world with love, with values, with proposal that unify ourselves in favor of the humanity. And then I thought, how can I help to promote this movement? How can I help to do something in favor of this movement that could be the movement who make a big revolution around the world? Because we reject, we are opposite to the confrontation, of ideas and ideologies. We are looking for love, shared proposals, peaceful solutions, because the only one way to do something in favor of humanity is to spare the hate. Like Mandela said again, nobody born hating somebody. Somebody teach us to hate. Then we can do it. We can do it together. And that's why I said, well, I have to talk with the former presidents of my continent and to say them, I don't know, and doesn't matter which is the ideology you have, which was the party who elected you in the democratic movement to be the president. But we can go together and put all our prestige, our experience in favor of a new era, a new world, new society, doing the things in agreement with the people and leaving the hate, leaving the discrimination, trying to integrate all the people and invite them to participate in this movement that it was promoted for the Global Peace Foundation. The movement of trying to take all the people together in favor of a new humanity who understand that is the love, the peaceful solutions, and the thinking about who can benefit the people that could change the world all the way. And they accept my invitation, and that's why we decide to create the Latin American presidential mission to work in favor of this movement we are all together sharing in this global convention. Now we have 20 former presidents of Latin America in agreement to support this movement. 20 of them. All of them are from different political parties, different ideological positions, but we are in agreement that we have the duty to create a new kind of society inspired by the mind, the position, and the ideas of this movement of the Global Peace Foundation. We are one family under God. This is the real idea who are going to push us to change the world. And that's why we organize that movement in agreement with 3 presidents. I have to remember, the President Lacalle from Uruguay, the President was Mossi from Paraguay, and myself, and we begin to invite the others who are in agreement supporting this new movement that I really believe, that we are going to change the world, to change the way we were watching the society. I am really sure that if we maintain this unity in the diversity, we are going to be able to create a new world with who can have a peace, a sustainable peace, and change forever the world in favor of humanity. This is my message, this is my experience, and that's why I'm here contributing with Mr. Moon and all of you to change the world in favor of humanity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, President Cerezo. He mentioned passionately the work of the Latin American Presidential Mission. We're gathered here in Kuala Lumpur, but we're connected to our leaders around the world who are working together for this great vision. And so I'd like to ask you to turn your attention to the video screens. President Cerezo mentioned 20 presidents in the presidential mission. We have video greetings from many of them that we'd like to share with you now. For those on the panel, I'd like to direct your attention to the monitor in the back of the room. Please, the video from the Latin American presidential mission.
Quiero valorar enormemente haber escogido el tema de una educación sustentable como tema de esta conferencia por la paz. Quiero felicitar a los organizadores, a los promotores, a los voluntarios que están asistiendo, porque es un tema que une a la humanidad, es un tema que hace evolucionar a la humanidad y particularmente a la juventud nuestra, que por medio de la educación les podemos permitir un camino más adecuado para desarrollar su vida, tanto familiar como social y como económica. Así que una sincera felicitación y un deseo de que todo salga bien en esta conferencia.
El presidente Vinicio Cerezo me invita al foro sobre liderazgo y paz en Malasia. Todos esos temas generan controversia. Déjenme hacer un aporte. Las políticas de paz en los países tienen que empezar en unas políticas de seguridad con valores democráticos. Y los acuerdos de paz no pueden convertirse en acuerdos de impunidad, porque la impunidad es la partera de nuevas violencias. Ojalá nos veamos en Malasia.
Saludo afectuosamente hasta Malasia, Kuala Lumpur, al Dr. Moon y a esta conferencia global de paz. Sin duda, en esta conferencia global se tocarán temas importantes, se verán realidades del mundo y, por supuesto, la realidad centroamericana abordada por un experto y muy querido expresidente de la región centroamericana. Mi saludo cordial para todos ustedes, que aprovechen al máximo este evento y que, por supuesto, en él el abordaje de los temas sea beneficioso para nuestros países.
La pluralidad de opiniones, la posibilidad de que la libre conciencia profundice los aportes de cada uno en la comunidad. Pero el desafío más importante, creo yo, es lograr conectar con las nuevas generaciones. Los jóvenes tienen que entender, uno, que son presente y futuro. Tenemos que conectarnos con nuestras sociedades, en nuestros respectivos países, en la región, a partir no solamente de nuestro pensamiento, sino de mecanismos que hagan de la misión un organismo vivo.
Un saludo muy cordial a todos los asistentes a esta cumbre de liderazgo en Kuala Lumpur, a su convocante, al Dr. Moon. El mundo necesita que haya espacios de reflexión sobre cuál es la responsabilidad social que tenemos en este momento. Cuando estamos hablando de liderazgo, estamos hablando de compromiso, de emprendimiento, estamos hablando sobre todo de solidaridad. Espero que en Kuala Lumpur quede un mensaje claro para el mundo sobre cuál es el concepto que debemos tener en cuenta de solidaridad para que el mundo sea más unido.
El Dr. Moon tiene no solo el privilegio y el honor, sino que tiene el mérito de llamar a esta misión presidencial que concurra de una u otra forma a Malasia. ¿Qué es la misión presidencial? Es un paraguas para poder tener temas como la democracia, como la justicia, como la corrupción, etcétera, etcétera, que ofrecer ¿A quiénes? A la sociedad y a los demás presidentes que están en funciones.
A los jóvenes y organizadores de la Cumbre Anual de Liderazgo, propiciada por la Fundación de Paz Global y por el Dr. Moon, que la preside y tiene su compromiso con este movimiento juvenil. Les hago llegar mi saludo para decirles una cosa muy sencilla. No dejen nunca de ser jóvenes. La juventud tiene una misión por el hecho mismo de ser joven. Son los descubridores del alba, son los que anuncian el alba. La juventud por sí misma es la que abre el futuro. Y se los digo yo que ya a mis años, sin embargo, fui parte de un movimiento generacional. Nosotros como jóvenes nos alzamos y nos organizamos contra las dictaduras para hacer la democracia.
Tenemos una nueva generación de gente. La juventud son la mayoría de nuestros países que estén más al tono y al tanto con las oportunidades del siglo XXI. Estoy seguro que este programa va a hacer una contribución muy significativa para que esos genuinos jóvenes líderes lo pueden hacer con mejores conocimientos y mayores destrezas.
Desde Centroamérica, un saludo a todos los asistentes de esta cumbre anual de liderazgo. Mandamos nuestro saludo, nuestro respeto y a nuestro gran representante, que estoy seguro podrá llevarles un mensaje de esperanza y un mensaje de lecciones aprendidas desde nuestro istmo centroamericano. Gracias.
Como expresidente de Honduras me siento muy contento de enviar este saludo a esta cumbre de liderazgo en la que estaremos representados por el presidente Vinicio Cerezo, ya que su iniciativa y el esfuerzo que él hace por la región centroamericana, estoy convencido que va a contribuir a mejorar sustancialmente nuestras realidades y nuestras condiciones de vida. Y que con gran agrado esperamos el apoyo, compartir con él y que de aquí salgan alternativas positivas para toda Centroamérica.
Hola, ¿qué tal, amigas y amigos allá en Malasia? Les llama acá el presidente Fox desde Guatemala. Y, por supuesto, donde está su casa, allí en México, en el Centro Fox, la Fundación Centro Fox. Pues el saludo lleva también su contenido. ¿Qué tema tan interesante van a explorar y sobre el cual van a trabajar? Y esperamos se llegue a conclusiones muy precisas. Ustedes están trabajando duro, igual que lo hacemos nosotros acá en México y Centroamérica. Allá en Malasia seguramente vendrán pues nuevas ideas para atender este tema universal, el tema de la paz. Para mí, en lo personal, el valor superior entre los seres humanos. La paz se alcanza con educación, con oportunidades iguales para todos, con armonía en las comunidades, se alcanza erradicando la violencia. Sepan que acá estaremos atentos a las resoluciones que ustedes saquen y con base en ellas también acelerar nuestros procesos de paz a través de generación de empleos, a través de oportunidades iguales para todos, a través de mejor ingreso, a través de menos ignorancia y menos pobreza y a través de esa columna vertebral fundamental, la educación. Eso es el tema. Y yo sé que a través de educación vamos a construir un mundo mejor en este siglo XXI. Un saludo pues afectuoso y un gran abrazo.
Amigos, en nombre de la Misión Presidencial Latinoamericana, organización en la que estamos trabajando una serie de expresidentes de esta parte del mundo, nos dirigimos con especial afecto para felicitarlos por las jornadas que se están llevando a cabo en Malasia y decir que desde esta otra parte del mundo compartimos esa importante tarea que el doctor Preston Moon está llevando a cabo y que no es ni más ni menos que fortalecer los valores del ser humano por encima de fronteras de religión, de fronteras de idioma y aún de ideas políticas. Por eso la misión presidencial latinoamericana, entre sus otras tareas, tiene la de concurrir a los países donde sean recibidos nuestros integrantes a hablar de valores, hablar de democracia, hablar de respeto, hablar de familia, hablar de educación de la juventud, para que seamos una luz en el mundo actual.
So we heard from all of Latin America, from the representatives of many nations. Let's appreciate that they're joining with us here and supporting this great effort that is Global Peace Convention. Again, for the Latin American Presidential Mission, let's have a round of applause. Next, we'll turn to the great continent of Africa, and we're very honored to have with us here today Her Excellency Hajia Dr. Amina Namadi Sambo. She is a successful business leader, founder of the NGO I Care Women and Youth Initiative, helping to develop IT skills, finance startup businesses, deliver healthcare, and build HIV/AIDS awareness. Her projects have included sanitation, distribution of insecticide-treated nets to families, and support for education of girls, protection of women from violence. She is the wife of the Nigerian Vice President, Mohammed Namadi Sambo, the mother to 6 children, and has received international and national recognition for her public service. Most importantly, she's a dynamic woman with great leadership. Let us welcome Her Excellency Hajia Dr. Amina Namadi Sambo to the podium. Thank you.
The International Chairman, Global Peace Foundation, Dr. Jin Moon and his amiable wife, the Prime Minister of Malaysia, His Excellency Najib Abdul Razak, ably represented by the Minister from his department, Honorable Tan Paglima, the International President, Global Peace Foundation, Mr. James Flynn, Nigerian's ambassador to Malaysia and other ambassadors, His Excellency Marco Vinicio Serrazo, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. It is my pleasure to be in this beautiful city of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And I'm very pleased to be attending the 2013 Global Peace Convention, which discusses how to further enhance peace and chart a new course for the promotion of peace across the globe. The caliber of people in attendance, as well as the large number of delegates from across the parts of the world, shows the global spread and acceptability of the noble ideals of the Global Peace Foundation. When the 2013 Global Peace Leadership Conference was held in Nigeria last month, I was privileged to launch the Global Peace Women Africa, which was preceded by paper presentations and discussions by experts on the different issues concerning women. That conference brought to the fore some fundamental issues on higher moral and spiritual values and standards drawn from character and interfaith development, essential for real and sustainable progress. As politics, diplomacy, and economy alone cannot resolve the challenges to peace. That is why I find the theme of this convention, unity in diversity, building social cohesion for sustainable peace through universal aspirations, principles, and values, very apt. I am convinced that we are on a course. All we need is to be more committed to promote and encourage social interactions among people of diverse faith and ethnicity. This is because social cohesion has been described as the glue that binds society together, promoting harmony, peace, and love, and commitment to promoting the common good. It is believed that social cohesion is a basic prerequisite for any society. To quote Albert Camus, peace is the only battle worth waging. Since the world has become a global village, we need a common bond to hold together. And it is where the issues of universal aspirations, principles, and values stated in this theme of this convention come to bear. We can build social cohesion through the family, community, and the positive use of cultural and faith values. Nigeria has always been proud of its diversity and has the same slogan as this convention, unity in diversity. Even though we have challenges, we have been striving to overcome them. A lot has been achieved in uniting the nation for peace and tranquility. Apart from international efforts, Nigeria has also been in the forefront in peace missions across the world, especially in Africa and the West African sub-region in particular. Our First Lady, Dame Patient Goodluck Jonathan, has done a lot in promoting peace in Africa by using her office and her position as the president of the African First Ladies Peace Mission to champion the cause. Just like any other non-governmental organizations, the Global Peace Foundation Nigeria, with my humble self as the grand patron, is also working tirelessly for peace and unity through interfaith dialogue and promoting One Family Under God campaign. I hope and I pray that this will lead to us solving the problems of religious differences, ethnicity, and cultural diversities in our community. As part of my efforts to promote the above ideals, my NGO, I Care Women and Youth Initiative, has been carrying out advocacy on girl-child education, conducting conferences and workshops on maternal mortality and infant mortality reduction, and also raising awareness on HIV/AIDS prevention, especially in the rural areas. We are also actively involved in empowering women and youth who are most vulnerable in every crisis situation, to make them self-sustaining and save them from crisis entrepreneurs. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, if every nation tries to build a social cohesion with the aim of having a sustainable peace, using its peculiar situation, the much-needed peace will be achieved worldwide. I would like to quote from the Holy Quran, a surah from Surah Al-Hujurat, verses 13, which states, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Inna khalaqna ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min zakarin wa untha, wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa ka'aba'ir lita'arafu, inna akramakum indallah atqakum, inna Allaha alimul kabir. I would like to translate this surah. It says, Allah called on us, O you mankind. He was talking to all of us, all mankind. And he says, I have created you from single pair of male and female. And I have divided you into nations and tribes so that you may understand each other. But the most pious and righteous among you is the one I know. And he is the knower and the greatest. This surah inspired me to be part of Global Peace Foundation. And that slogan, one family under God, clearly signifies that as human beings, we are all sisters and brothers, and we are supposed to live in harmony. I believe if we come together with our multi-religious values, our cultural values, our different lingual languages, and we discuss our differences, and we understand our religion, our different faith, and then we respect each other, we tolerate each other, and give the respect to our values, I hope and I think the world will be a better place to live in. Vijaya Pandit once said, the more we sweat in peace, the less we bleed in war, unquote. As we converge today in Malaysia to discuss and advocate for peace, the great icon of peace and freedom, the pride of Africa, father of tolerance and forgiveness, Madiba Dr. Mandela has passed on. He is a strong believer of unity in diversity. May his gentle soul rest in peace. Thanks, Mr. Flynn, for the 1 minute of silence. Coming to Malaysia from all the continents of the world to discuss these issues under different sub-themes and sessions is surely a right step in the right direction. I am sure that the outcome will serve as guides and roadmaps to achieving the theme. While expressing my happiness to be part of this effort, to contribute to a new world social order, I want to commend the international chairman, the founder of the Global Peace Foundation, Dr. Jin Moon, for their foresight and commitment towards peace. I would like to equally appreciate the Global Peace Foundation Malaysia for hosting this convention and for their warm hospitality. I am sure all the delegates will go home with the high spirit of commitment to make the world a better place for all to live in. I wish you all a fruitful deliberations as we settle down for the business at concurrent sessions. I thank you most sincerely for listening. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much to Her Excellency Hajia Dr. Amina Namadi Sambo. We appreciate very much your insights and your leadership, and especially for bringing the very important dimension of women leadership to this convention. Thank you once again. Let's appreciate Her Excellency. Our next speaker also hails from the great continent of Africa. Let me introduce Dr. Manu Chandaria. He is the CEO of Comcraft Group and founding chairman of the East African Business Council and the Kenyan Private Sector Alliance. In 2003, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II conferred on him the Order of the British Empire in recognition of his promotion of Kenyan economic interests. His Excellency Honorable Mwai Kibaki, former President of Kenya, distinguished him with the honor of Elder of the Burning Spear in 2003 in recognition of outstanding service to the nation. We're also deeply grateful to Dr. Chandaria for being a great champion of this work for global peace and the Global Peace Foundation in Kenya. And so let us welcome to the podium Dr. Manu Chandaria.
This one because I'm intimidated. The Honorable Minister, I think that the 1 minute silence that we paid this morning, sitting, is not good enough for a person of Nelson Mandela. He was the heartbeat of Africa. He represented wherever he went as Africa. Can I ask you all to stand up and give us a 1 minute silence, please? Thank you. Thank you. It's only 3 or 4 years back that Aruna and myself went and saw and met Nelson Mandela, the president. He was very weak, but his mind was very alert. He spoke on every subject on Africa, whether it's Kenya, whether it's Uganda, whether it's community, whether it's poverty. He spoke on every subject. I was a trustee of the Pan-African Parliament. Pan-African Parliament means 5 members of parliament from each government, from each country of Africa, meeting together in Johannesburg. And the man, when he spoke, and I asked him that it reminds me of Gandhi, and said, my philosophy is nothing but Gandhi. That was the man that we lost this morning. And Africa is that much poorer today than what it was yesterday. Dr. Moon, Mrs. Moon, Your Excellency, Honorable Tan Sidato Group, the Minister and the co-host of this conference representing the Prime Minister of Malaysia. Tan Sidato Paduka, co-chair, yesterday she was there and she spoke quite nicely, and I'll repeat her sometimes. Your Excellency, Haja Amina, wife of the Vice President of the great nation of Africa, Nigeria. His Excellency, the past President of Guatemala, Marco Cerezo. When Marco got up, I told Dr. Moon, you know, Dr. Moon, you and yourself and Marco looks like movie stars. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all the participants of this conference, it's with great joy and great pleasure that I join you at the 5th Global Peace Convention in Kuala Lumpur. Malaysia calls itself Malaysia Asia. It's truly, it's Asia. You can see here Malays, you can see here Chinese, you can see here Indians, and you see many other nationalities in Malaysia. And they all live together with peace and harmony. And that's why they call Malaysia Asia. And I salute all the Malaysians who are here. It's under the leadership of His Excellency, the former President Mwai Kibaki and the Prime Minister Raila Odinga of Kenya. We were pleased to host Dr. Moon, the second Global Peace Convention, with delegates similar like 40 countries, in Nairobi, in Kenya, 2010. And since then, we are here in Malaysia. We can see how far the Global Peace Foundation has come since then. And thank you, Dr. Moon. Keep on pushing it. On October 24th, 2013, means this year, I had the privilege of accepting the United Nations Day Award on behalf of the Global Peace Foundation in recognition of its efforts in Kenya. It also says that GPF is promoting culture of service, peace, and sustainable development. And to me, it was honor sitting in that big room with, 56 nationalities and the ambassadors and many others sitting over there getting a plaque for the Global Peace Foundation. I congratulate Dr. Moon and the team in Kenya, who worked very hard to promote peace after the post-election. After the post-election violence of 2008, we had number of meetings with the youth. And the epitome of that was in the January end, when 2,000 youth came down to Nairobi for 2 days. And we spoke to each one of them. And finally, they went back. What was the result? In 2013, we had an election and not a single person died. And that was Dr. Moon, I salute your efforts. In a very small way, we began in Kenya. And we found that it was a place where we needed to help and find the peace. And in 2013, it proved that by peaceful talking, by understanding each other, we can create peace. Our objective is to create and increase the cooperation between stakeholders from various sectors by adding value in the areas of social entrepreneurship and providing a platform that nurtures the culture of service. Through volunteerism, character and creativity and skill development through youth entrepreneurship incubation centers. And every place this is becoming a necessity. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no development without peace, and there is no peace unless you have development. In urban slums of Africa, in many countries in Asia also, the common deterrent of development is the lack of education, literacy, water, electricity. And I'm very glad that Global Peace Foundation has started the program of All Light Village project, which facilitates electrifications in the villages, a gateway to peace and development. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, leadership today is taught worldwide. It is not leadership. In the classical business school that is taught. However, it gives you the tools. If you go to the school, they will give you the tools. But it does not make you a leader unless you put the tools into practice and you work for it. Build yourself a position of leadership and make a difference in a nation that you live in. Then you can be recognized as a leader. Youth unemployment today, not in Africa, but in most of the world, is threatening the peace and stability of many countries. In Kenya, for example, there are 5 million youth, from secondary school leavers up to university graduates, pacing streets of Kenya. And it's estimated there will be 24 million Kenyan youths by 2030 if we are not very careful and do not build the country to assemble them and to take them in, that they will be also roaming the streets of Kenya. This is a huge danger. And this is not only for Kenya. Every country in Africa is facing this situation. The launch of Asia and Africa Peace Service Corps at the United Nations in Kenya provides an opportunity where volunteers will work together to build peace and bring practical solutions to local communities. We can find all solutions, but unless the solutions are practical to those communities, those solutions are useless. Leadership is about making right choices of what is necessary to be done. To create more leaders of quality, Can Africa Leadership Institutes and the government of Africa chart a new vision, a new direction, new skills, and sharpen them to develop their capacity to make right choices, to see the continent move forward. Why I say this? Now is the time for Africa. Because Africa is the last continent which is left out to be developed now. The region is sitting on huge amount of human and mineral resources, excellent land masses. Today we are talking about in Kenya, in Zambia, in Nigeria, in Ethiopia, everywhere, tracts of lands are available. And yet, Africa, many, many children in Africa go to sleep without a meal. You can find extremely hardworking people if you can make them to understand what hard work is all about. And there's a tremendous potential for development. There are 53 independent nations in a country of Africa. And yet, when we look deeply, the continent, we have seen millions of people in the last 50 years killed amongst each other. Kenya is just on the 11th of this month, will be completing 50 years of our independence. Kenya has not seen the types of killing that we have seen in other countries. But Africa, most of the countries are going through this kind of disturbances, killing, hate against each other, caste, religion. You know, it's unbelievable. 50+ million people must have been killed in the last 50 years. Is this what we want? And that's why the motto of Dr. Moon, one family under God, is the only answer that we can say, hey, stop this killing. Africa is poor. The question is, why is it so poor? And let me tell you, the Malaysia, the Singapore, the Indonesia, all what you call the tigers, their GDP 50 years was lower than Kenya. And yet, look at them now today. They're up over there, and we're still there. Why is it so poor? Why do the majority of poor go to bed with 1 meal a day? Who is responsible for this? Is it the politics? Is it the lack of institutions? Or is it the lack of vision? Or it is the lack of transformative leadership? And that's why all the Africans who are over here today, please think about this, that what we need is transformative leadership, leadership which can see out of the box. So I'd like to challenge you all, because today we have seen many of Africans present over here, to think out of the box, to find solutions, to give that little time to worry about the continent. And turn the worry, just worrying is not good enough. Turn the worry in some action. This will find, and this will need really a fire in your belly. It cannot be done otherwise. There are successful people in Africa. Today there are millionaires and billionaires in Africa. Very few, but there are. And I remember the quote of this man whom was the dean of the Kellogg School of Business, and now is the dean of INSEAD. And he said, from success to significance, or rather the journey from success to significance. And many of these people are successful, but only a few are able to make, or rather a chance to make a difference in the society they live in. And success, only success, is as good as not having success unless you can make and touch somebody else's life and make a change in your society. I'd like to thank Dr. Hyun Jin Moon for his vision, passion, and committed, supported by his wife, Mrs. Moon. Malaysians, congratulations for bringing this year's convention here and having all of us over here. For bringing us this one and a new level that you have shown here of tolerance with what you have with all kinds of people living in this country. Congratulations to you. Now, Your Excellency, Haji Amina. Yesterday, Tan Sri Paduka said, women are mothers, wives, sisters, daughters, and she forgot to tell us that they are also bosses. Now that reminds me, you know the cockroaches. Everybody, if they don't understand the cockroach, the cockroaches are afraid of rats, mouses. They are afraid of rats. And the rats are afraid of cats. And the cats are afraid of dogs. And the dogs are afraid of men. And man is afraid of women. And yet, women is afraid of cockroaches. So it all goes around about. Now, I see from here on this podium, I see more women than men. Come on, all the women say, yay! No, that's not good enough. You're women. Come on, say yay! Now, that's the women power here. And I think that you can take guys like me. You know, Aruna just takes me, look at that. And she takes me around like this on her finger. So I think if you decide to make a change will be a possibility. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chandaria. So we are now to the final portion of our plenary. At this time, I'd like to introduce the visionary leader who is the driving force behind the Global Peace Foundation, Dr. Hyun Jin Moon. Dr. Moon is the founder and chairman of the Global Peace Foundation and a dynamic global peace advocate. Understanding the complexities yet seriousness of identity-based conflicts, religious tensions, and geopolitical struggles that face every nation and region, Dr. Moon has worked tirelessly to advance a new paradigm for peace, advocating a vision and approach that can resonate with the world's great cultures and faith traditions. He believes today's world is in need of moral and innovative leadership and is building a global network of like-minded leaders. With great commitment and passion, he is a catalyst for peace and a true champion of the vision of one family under God. Please join me in welcoming to the podium the founder and chairman of the Global Peace Foundation, Dr. Hyun Jin Moon.
Your Excellencies, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is both an honor and a great pleasure for me to welcome you here from the four corners of the earth to Malaysia for the 5th Annual Global Peace Convention. On behalf of the international participants, I would like to extend my heartfelt appreciation to all those owners here in Malaysia who have worked tirelessly to make this convention possible. In particular, I would like to recognize the Department of National Unity and Integration of the Prime Minister's Department, who are co-hosts of this convention and whose support has been invaluable. We are particularly grateful to the co-chairs, Honorable Tan Sri Joseph Kurup, the JPIN Cabinet Minister, and Honorable Tan Sri Zaleha Ismail, my grandmother and chairwoman of Global Peace Festival Malaysia. May we give them a round of applause. As well as all of our Malaysian leaders. Once again, could we give all of them a round of applause? I also want to commend the work of two of our many strategic partners here today. The University of Malaya for its support in developing the convention program, and the Character Education Partnership for their engagement with the pre-convention summit on character and creativity. Finally, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the members of the Global Peace Foundation's Global Leadership Council and to all the other dignitaries, partners, and supporters who are with us here today. Give them all a round of applause. May I say thank you for your visionary leadership and your ownership over this mission for peace. I believe it has been mentioned several times today in this plenary, but I would like to mention once again, you know, there are few men and women in history that have such a profound effect that their legacy continues to live on even though their life have passed. I believe that Nelson Mandela is one such figure who carried on the message of true love, even loving thy enemy, to build the bridges of peace that could heal the wounds of the experience of segregation that had separated two races in South Africa, setting a precedent of leadership rooted on principles and values. And as someone who has a kindred spirit and heart, who shares that humanity is truly one family under God, and that humanity needs precedents like the life that he has lived. Once again, I would like to extend my condolences to his family, but more importantly, to make the commitment with all of us here that we shall carry on that legacy through our work by being owners of that vision of one family under God, being the peace builders in our communities, our nations, our regions, our continent, and eventually the world. So once again, could we give Nelson Mandela a round of applause? We also need to remember the tragedy that humanity has faced, especially in this region of Malaya, with the tragedy in the Philippines and even the recent floods here. So could we take a moment to give remembrance to those who have suffered and who are no longer with us, and the families that continue to persist under those very difficulties? Could we just give a moment of silence in remembrance of them? Thank you. The first Global Peace Convention was held just 4 short years ago in 2009 in Manila, the Philippines. It then moved to Africa in 2010, to Nairobi, Kenya, where then President Mwai Kibaki was patron. That convention accomplished significant work in addressing the causes of the 2008 post-election violence and in advancing what has now become the Character and Creativity Initiative. 2011 saw the convention held in South Korea, the land of my birth, and the launch of an important initiative to engage ordinary Korean citizens in a grassroots movement for the unification of the Korean Peninsula. Last year, the convention was held in Atlanta, the birthplace of the civil rights movement in America. There, a call for a new great awakening on a hemispheric level was made to inspire the Americas to take on the mantle of moral and innovative leadership on the global stage. The theme of this year's convention is unity in diversity, building social cohesion for sustainable peace through universal aspirations, principles, and values. Malaysia is the right place to discuss such a theme and to craft initiatives based upon it. Malaysian society is multi-ethnic, multi-religious, multicultural, and democratic. As such, you are uniquely positioned to offer the world a successful example of unity in diversity, where all the parts, while retaining their own unique religious and cultural identity, cooperate together for the greater good of the larger society. Malaysia is a country on the rise. In recent years, you have experienced impressive economic growth. Malaysia has also taken on greater leadership roles in this region, hosting and mediating peace talks between the Philippine government and parties in Mindanao, for example. And globally, through the Prime Minister's launch of the global movement of moderates. For Malaysia, as for many emerging countries, this is a moment of historic transition. The prospects of the future are bright, but there are serious challenges that need to be faced. Most importantly, the identity-based conflicts based on ethnic and religious differences. The threat of interreligious conflict is the most serious and extends beyond individual nations. It has the chilling potential to become global in scale. With the end of the Cold War, the two competing ideological blocs fragmented, spurring the rise of identity-based conflicts, first in the Balkans and Central Asia, while fueling ongoing conflicts in the Middle East, South Asia, and parts of Africa. It is clear that with the rise of such sectarian conflicts, the geopolitical dynamic has been reconfigured through politicized forms of religion, operating on a regional scale and claiming a spurious legitimacy from the great faith traditions. As history has shown, the ferocity and ruthlessness of such interreligious conflicts is something that humanity cannot afford, especially in this age where weapons of mass destruction, such as nuclear, chemical, or biologic, have proliferated throughout the world. Unlike the Cold War era, where two rational protagonists played the game of nuclear deterrence, a religious conflict or a clash of civilizations will not be constrained by reason, but fired by passion that could lead humanity to commit the greatest sins against itself in the name of religion. As a man of faith, I believe that these developments should be a clarion call for all true men and women of faith to become the true peacemakers of this age. A true interfaith movement should emerge at this time that can bring the different faiths, traditions to work together in harmony, not to further their own particular agendas, but upon a common platform of universal aspirations, principles, and values. As people of faith, we should recognize that we have more in common than we have in our differences. We all aspire to establish peace on earth, to recognize the value of human life, to recognize the importance of individual responsibility in living according to the laws of nature and heaven, and of the individual conscience in guiding us to do so, and to realize that we are truly one family under God. Thank you. The threat of sectarian extremism will never be resolved by political or economic means alone. A true and lasting resolution must be rooted in faith, expressed through practical spirituality. In fact, the universal principles and shared values of the world's faith traditions provide the essential basis for rising above conflict and building social cohesion in a diverse and multi-religious societies. They offer the antidote to the threat of global religious wars.
That is why cooperation among faith leaders is essential for securing peace at this critical inflection point in modern human history. Such a movement of cooperation calls for a vision that transcends the many differences and divisions that feed conflicts worldwide today. I believe that that vision is a simple yet profound idea that all people, regardless of race, nationality, religion, or culture, are truly members of one family under God. Ladies and gentlemen, if we strip ourselves of our pretensions and we stand honest and naked before God and all humanity, we are all the same. If we strip ourselves of our national pretensions, our racial pretensions, our religious pretensions, we will recognize our common humanity and our common destiny to live a life of co-prosperity and peace. On the basis of this vision that so powerfully expresses our fundamental human aspirations, the great faith traditions can unite and work together. Then they will not only counter religious radicalism, but uphold the fundamental human rights and freedoms through the universal principles and moral values that they share in common. From this foundation, a global ethic can then be developed that will provide the moral and cultural framework of a peaceful and harmonious world. The GPF approach is both timely and relevant. It addresses one of the most pressing contemporary threats to peace, namely the possibility of global religious conflict. Our approach is different from the past interreligious initiatives, which focus solely on dialogue and mutual understanding among the different faiths. GPF's initiatives are multi-sectoral, engaging partners not just from the faith community, but political leaders, educators, business people, and social entrepreneurs as well. Our projects are practical, bringing faith communities to work together to change attitudes and thus behaviors in order to solve social problems and resolve conflict. The new and very different geopolitical dynamic of today calls for fresh thinking and new initiatives. With that in mind, I propose that we establish a faith-based peace council at the United Nations to meet the global challenge of identity-based conflicts. Through such a council, the collective wisdom and resources of the world's great faith traditions can be mobilized to counter the radical elements that are distorting the original spirit of those traditions. We need to recognize the power of religious authority in amplifying the message of peace to local constituents in the most troubled hotspots of the world. They represent a largely untapped resource for peace. Yet, because they are deeply rooted in their communities, they are far more effective peace builders than the United Nations Blue Helmets, who can only contain the levels of violence. When local faith leaders become true owners of the vision of peace, they will inspire their constituents to act in ways to build real, lasting peace. This process is already happening in a very real way here in Nigeria, where Christians and Muslim leaders are partnering with GPF to take on the one family under God message to every single local community in that nation. Their example of religious cooperation and unity is a powerful statement against religious violence of the Boko Haram extremists. Several of those Christian pastors and Muslim imams are here with us today at this convention. Let us give them a round of applause. Please stand so we can recognize your leadership. Drawing, as it would, on such local faith resources, the Council should be given serious weight in peace deliberations. Its establishment would help the United Nations adapt to the current global realities. The UN is often limited in its effectiveness in addressing broader issues by the self-interest of its member states. Today, religious identities are regional in scope and appeal, spreading far beyond national boundaries. That is something the existing United Nations is not well equipped to deal with, and an interreligious council could remedy that. The council will also provide a stronger voice for fundamental human rights and freedoms than currently exist in the United Nations. Unlike the American Declaration of Independence, which recognized those rights and freedoms as endowed by our Creator, the United Nations at its founding, due to the circumstances of the Cold War, failed to acknowledge God or the Creator as a source of our human rights. That is why the UN has been ineffective in protecting those ideals in a world where authoritarian regimes make human rights dependent upon their own power. A faith-based council would strongly uphold the principle that all human beings, having the same origin, are created equal and endowed with equal human rights by our Creator, rights that no government or human institution can deny or infringe upon. The international movement of cooperation of faiths that I'm calling for would find a powerful public voice in this council, working within the institution of the United Nations. To establish the council, it will need the crucial support of several nations, with the support of the international religious leadership, to take the lead in advocating for its creation. I hope that Malaysia will be a champion for this endeavor. Malaysia can play a unique role here as a Muslim nation. Malaysia can also become a global leader through demonstrating that Islam is a force for peace in the world. Through pioneering a model of social cohesion and unity with Christianity, Buddhism, and Hinduism, the other great faith traditions present here, this country can powerfully dispel many of the violent and negative stereotypes that color the perception of Islam in the West and other parts of the world. I believe that we stand in a moment of historic transition, not just for Malaysia, but for the world. Humanity is being challenged to take the responsibility for the future and answer this fundamental question. In the words of my father, who devoted his entire life to the pursuit of peace, will everlasting peace ever take root? Or is humanity doomed to repeat the tragedy of the 20th century? A century fraught with unprecedented levels of human violence, with 2 world wars, the Cold War, genocide, and regional conflicts. The time for discussion is over. The time for leadership is here. True leaders have a vision and pursue it single-mindedly. Their strength comes from moral authority, like our beloved statesman in Africa, Nelson Mandela. That moral authority is rooted in spiritual principles that then are mobilized to engage social change. True leaders are innovative. They clear away the log jams of the past through fresh thinking, changing the framework of the debate and establishing new precedents. These precedents replace old, corrupt habits, establishing new ethical standards that are the basis of a new culture. You have all gathered here because you share the hope of a peaceful world rooted in the vision of one family under God. You share the principles and the values that bring us together in this common cause. Now is the time to take up our responsibility, to give substance to our hopes, and shape our vision. I call upon all of you here to join with me in a mission of creating the institutions and structures that will advance the cause for peace. Let us create a global movement of faith communities working together as a powerful social and cultural force for peace, as they are doing in Nigeria, but on a global scale. Can you do this? Yes or no? Yes. Let us establish the Faith-Based Peace Council as part of the United Nations. Can we do this? Yes or no? We can be sure that the extremists are not sleeping. Let us determine that it is not they who will determine the future, but it is us that share this common vision to build one family under God, to put our mark in this very crucial moment in human history and shape the future of humanity. If we rise to this challenge, we can move beyond the threat of a global clash of civilizations, beyond the stage of dialogue among civilization, toward the world of peace and harmony. I pray that you will join me today and unite for this common cause. This is a solemn moment. But I cannot leave without giving a challenge. This is a big, big challenge that I'm proposing here today. Will you become the owners of that dream of one family under God and make it a living reality for our future generations? If you do, please stand up. You know, I want to share with you a Korean word. Aju. My father explained that this word has tremendous meaning to him because it means that I will take ownership over it, not somebody else. Peace will start with me. I will be the peacemaker. So could we say together, Aju? Louder, could we say together, Aju! Will you be the owners of the dream of one family under God and carry this message and the large mantle that is present before us to the world as the true peacemakers of this century? Will you do that? Yes or no? Aju! Thank you very much. May God bless you and your families in all of your endeavors.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moon, for that stirring message and charge for us. We have had a very, very rich session here this morning and much for us to consider in our further deliberations. We will take a break at this point. Our sincere apologies that we are beyond schedule. We'll take a 10-minute break at this point and have our second plenary. Our second plenary will conclude by 1 p.m. Again, thank you so much. God bless each and every one of you, and let's continue our important deliberations today. Thank you.